forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
Hi, David. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Ranjeet. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. So David is our Director of Admissions who has recently been part of our team, and he's going to ask all questions on behalf of all of you. And welcome in. Every week we go live answering the most relevant and asked questions in regards to EB1A policy. So David, what do we have today?
Yeah, great. Just so everybody knows, we do have a form that you can submit questions for the upcoming live. It will be linked down below. And also these questions come in various multitudes of ways. They're either submitted anonymously from aspirants that are actively in conversations with our team, as well as some of the top questions that I receive on our discovery calls or that Thomas Mitchell receives on doing profile reviews. So these are going to be really detailed, high-level responses to active questions of what's going on in the EB1A space right now and current. So the first question that we have is, I've been building my EB1A profile for several months now, and I was already nervous about filing with this new policy allowing USCIS to deny without an RFE. How do I know when my profile is actually strong enough to file?
It's a very good question, but let's look at it that we are not trying to build EB1A profile per se. We are trying to position ourselves as extraordinary in our own right. You get EB1A not because you fulfill the criteria. You get EB1A because you meet three requirements. Number one, you are an expert of a top caliber. Number two, your expertise is beneficial to the US. And number three would be that you would continue in your field of endeavor. Okay. And second thing, this new policy is basically, kind of making it redundant for people who would not give their evidences or possibly who are trying to take some kind of a surrogate advantage of the opportunity that would get otherwise by filing. I do not think, it does not say that you will not get an RFE. In fact, recently we got an RFE actually. One of the students who applied, who had joined the program in 2024, and he was there with us, he was helping a profile. And there are some basic questions which are there. But yes, the time limit has been reduced in terms of, instead of typical 90 days, they have reduced it to 30 days. But it is very much doable. So if there has been a genuine mistake, I don't think that you should worry about. And if that there would be an opportunity for USCIS to deny the petition because there is such policy and so you are worried about it, I think that should not be there at all. Actually, I think the idea behind EB1A's purpose is much more deeper and much more larger. Focus on, kind of presenting your profile in the three things what I mentioned moments ago in terms of presenting your expertise, and use the criteria to present those three things actually. And
Gotcha.
Your expertise. So that's what I would like to say that, David.
Perfect. When it comes to USCIS updated policies and things of this nature, how does a Next League program actually handle and think about updated policies in regards to this? So this is directly involving filing your petition, and there's already a heightened sense of, I guess, kind of a scarcity mindset or hesitancy to go down this path because there's always new updated policies. So how does the Next League program actually take a look at these updated policies, and how do they navigate around certain updated policies?
That's a very good question. In fact, first let's understand that how institutions function actually. Institutions do not react. They are not acting based on some kind of a reaction or something. That they are to make operations much more convenient and much more efficient. That's the kind of any policy that evolves actually. So basically, I mean, one need not worry about if there is some kind of a policy. We try to relate that how it is going to help us.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first and the foremost thing, rather than how it is going to create impediment actually. That would be a wrong objective, and what could potentially be a motivation for such policy to exist at the first place. So before any policy comes up, I will look at from the USCIS perspective that how best this could have been dealt with otherwise this policy, and whether this policy, and no policy that I have seen, in fact there have been a lot of policies in the past which have been beneficial. For example, they said that they are going to take in the era of modern technology, if seminars or anything happening online, they would take online transcripts. Okay, video transcripts would be considered to be an evidence. So these were some of the things that have already happened before actually. There are some policies which change. Is it a policy to change the entire contour of the entire thing? No, it is definitely not the case actually. This is just a policy to make operations much more efficient. Now there is another policy that has come up which says that they would be filing online actually. You can file online and they would encourage people filing online. It's a very good policy, isn't it? So if you combine the two things together, so second thing is, don't look at anything in isolation, look at series of things that would happen. So if you look at, yes, USCIS is accepting online, second, they are not accepting. So you need to be more diligent, that's for sure. But that's for an operation part of it actually, your evidences, you don't have to worry about it from your profile perspective. If something is missing or something is required more, I'm very sure USCIS will give due consideration to it, that the way they have given consideration to one particular person who has gotten an RFE even after this policy has happened actually. I hope that answers your question, David.
Wonderful. This next question comes in anonymously. It's in the space of understanding critical role. This aspirant asks, I'm a very normal software engineer, and I've worked on several applications which are downstream apps of major products of insurance companies, which are getting used by millions of people in the United States. How do I actually present this or make this critical? Like, what metrics should I use and what exactly will be needed for CR criteria?
I think I like this. Everybody is a normal software engineer. Let's understand, everybody who considers themselves to be normal, I think it stems from a belief of scarcity. That's I think what David used the word, that there is a kind of a limitation of number of EB1A achievers who can be there. Remember, there are 1 million green cards which are issued each year. 140 of them are kind of issued for the purpose of employment based. Out of them, assuming that you are from India, so each country has a 7% quota. So 7% of 150, so there will be 10,500 green cards for employment based, which would get kind of distributed amongst EB1, EB2 and EB3. Okay, so that's the way it is, and the first priority is given to EB1A. Let's be pretty clear about it actually. So if that being the case, I think you don't have to worry about downstream. Now, answering your second part of the question in terms of metrics, remember it all depends on, we need to go more granular into your expertise actually, which I would not like to qualify myself to answer this question without any detail or without any specific. I would love if you can reach out to, kind of David or I and kind of tell us more about your work. We'll be more than happy to respond to this in a more granular manner. And anybody else has any question, we are happy to do that as well for others. But whether this is in technology or whether it is in business orientation, we don't know about that right now actually. Now, assuming that is in business, then you have to talk about, there are 5 M's of business, we call that actually, in terms of man, money, method, material, and material, yes. So basically man, method, material, and money. Now basically these are M's of business actually we call it, and we need to check whether how much money was impacted by virtue of your work, what methodology did we adopt, how many people's kind of resources were saved. Material is another important aspect that, okay, so you need to actually isolate your work based on these 5 factors, assuming that this is business. And if it is in research, let us say in sciences, then you kind of say what kind of research that was done in the software, what was the rigor that was applied, what was the reproducibility possibility that exists, what is the relevance for the company in your work, and how often that software got revised. These are 5 R's of sciences. So either you use 5 M's of business or you use 5 R's of sciences. And that's the kind of a granularity you need to get into, rather than just saying that you did this job and did this job. No, that is not going to work actually. I hope that answers the question, David.
Yeah, perfectly. This is a similar question, and it's a question that I often receive on discovery calls, which I'm taking multiple throughout every single week. And it's a very simple question and straight to the point. How can I tell the difference between having enough evidence to meet a criterion and having evidence that is actually strong enough to survive USCIS scrutiny without an RFE?
Very simple, actually. Don't look it from the lens of the criteria by itself, actually, because the criteria by itself do not help. Does it show that any evidence that you show? Okay, let's take an illustration, actually. Let's say you have done, you want to claim original contribution and you have a patent. Now, does that patent prove that you are an expert? Yes, it proves that you are an expert. How is US going to benefit from it, actually? If that patent is not applied, if there is nothing to do, then there is no US benefit out of that, actually. Try to answer the question for each and every aspect in terms of what, where, how, when, and why. If you are able to answer this question, okay, does it show that I'm an expert in the top, say 1% or 10% in my field? Answer this question: how, when, where, what, and why. Then second, is US benefiting out of it? Answer this question from a perspective of how, when, where, what, and why. And last but not least, okay, will I continue in the field of expertise? Having a patent, what does it show that you are? It might show that you have an intellectual prowess, but whether the US will benefit or not, that you have to kind of check. So that would be the metrics I would place to define whether how strong is a particular evidence, actually. Okay.
Is there a specific kind of scientific equation or metric-based process that the Next League program uses in order to validate that type of impact?
Yes. For every criteria, we have defined certain quantifiable metrics, actually. For critical role, we have something called a Stephen-Lewis ratio, which is being used by International Accounting Standard Board. We use that for criticality, to establish your criticality. To establish original contribution, we have something called as a Mudholkar matrix. Actually, there is an article in Forbes on that, which I had written, and basically we speak about what are the different components to define something as an originality. Then there is something called as an FTD matrix. So for every criteria, we have devised those metrics, actually, and they help us to quantify the evidence standard for each, the strength of the evidence standard, and we use that, actually. And what we have seen is that using that has been pretty successful.
Wonderful.
Okay? Wonderful.
This next question comes in anonymously as well. There's a bit of information here about somebody's profile, an aspirant's profile. So I'm going to list this out, and then it's followed by specific questions around their profile. So just bear with me. This aspirant says, "Hello, everyone. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to evaluate whether pursuing an EB1A petition over the course of the next 1 to 2 years is realistic, and I would appreciate some honest and open feedback from people who have gone through the process or have worked within immigration. Here's my current profile. MS in Material Science Engineering. I'm currently working as a process engineer at Micron. One first principles materials related research paper published as second author in a Q1 journal. The paper itself currently has 14 citations. I have a master's thesis focused on advanced material research. I have around 10 completed peer reviews for scientific journals. And I believe that I can obtain strong recommendation letters, including letters describing my work as critical and explaining their impact. I plan to continue publishing, reviewing papers, and building my academic profile. Here are my questions. Based on this specific profile, how competitive would I currently be for EB1A? And then which EB1A criteria do you feel or think I already satisfy and which ones are still weak? If you were in my position, what would you prioritize over the course of the next 1 to 2 years?
Very, very well articulated question, I would say that actually. But again, as I'm saying that we are defining a metrics here without defining an expertise. What is your work that is being celebrated? I don't know that actually. And neither I can qualify myself to do that. I mean, this is an anonymous, so we can't do a research about the person here right now. But let's say you did some project, or if it is in job is in process engineer at Micron, you have been there. Research paper published is just one thing. What was the impact of the research paper? Then you say you have 14 citations. Who cited your work? For example, in one of our students' papers was cited actually by somebody whose paper was published in nature.com. Now that is a very big thing actually. So one citations in nature.com is equivalent to 1,000 citations. And the person whose work was published in nature.com, they also kind of, that the person also gave a recommendation letter in terms of how he found this particular gentleman's work impactful for him to continue his own research actually. Now, these are kind of things that you have to show impact. I again repeat, you don't get EB1A because you are fulfilling metrics. I have seen people fulfilling 8 criteria, 5 criteria, 4 criteria, and still getting rejected actually. Because we are becoming too much oriented towards fulfilling the criteria. There might be certain work in your professional work that could meet the criteria. For example, we have had somebody who was working with Citibank and he had created an app. That app could manifest itself as an original contribution itself actually. It had a valuation of $100 million. You don't know, you may be much more you may not realize that you are much more closer to EB1A than what you actually perceive, but not in a manner what you think you are actually. That's the kind of thing it is there. So answering your question specifically, yes, I think you have a very promising profile to begin with. I would, which criteria I do not want to qualify, but yes, certainly I see criticality is well established. There could be something as an original contribution. There could be some scholarly articles that you might have done. These 3 are definitely, I presume that you are getting a good salary. So these are something which are much more closer, but we need to sharpen them actually. We need to sharpen the saw. So I think once we do that, I think you are much more closer to do that. And I would focus on the same actually. So please reach out to David or I, and we'll be more than happy to kind of help you if you are listening to this video actually. And let's take the last question, David.
Got it. I just have a little bit of follow-up clarity on this particular profile. I field a lot of questions on discovery calls specifically of very similar cases where they are looking at the criteria as a checklist and a number, rather than the way holistically that the Next League program approaches it. So just to kind of really bring this back to center and offer this anonymous question submission the most clarity possible. If you were in my position, what would you prioritize over the next year to 2 years in achieving EB1A success? If this person was to place their trust in the Next League program, what would you focus on and prioritize over the next series of months?
Okay. The first thing what I would like to do is to define his expertise actually. Whatever work that he has done so far, we have a patented process called done process, and the first step in that is defining the expertise. based on all the projects, whatever this gentleman has accomplished, we need to reverse engineer the expertise based on that. Actually, your expertise is not a function of your job qualification or a business title. It is a function of what have you produced, what is the impact. Just to give you a illustration, in 1970s, if somebody were to say that I'm a data transfer expert, which is in technology, I mean, nobody would understand what is a data transfer expert would mean actually. But data transfer expert today, it has manifested itself in just 30-40 years. It has manifested into something called as internet today actually. Internet is nothing but a web of all kind of interfaces connected together. I mean, it's a very small description of what is an internet. If you have to explain somebody who is 50-year-old or 50-year back actually, or even 100-year back or 50-year back, if somebody could come out with that kind of a vision, what's your vision about your expertise? So basically, we'll define that expertise. That's the number one. Then check based on the work what he has done, what criteria might be relevant. Identify the gaps, help him fulfill the gaps. Then define certain metrics across each criteria. Then draft the recommendation letters and then go to a lawyer. That would be the step actually.
Wonderful.
Okay.
And we'll address this last question here, again, coming in anonymously. And if anybody's wondering why so many individuals submit questions from an anonymous standpoint, you can understand what would we say? The level of sensitivity in regards to EB1A and the entire process. I'm always curious about that, Ranjeet. Why are so many aspirants reluctant to either share the company that they work with or their actual name, etc.?
You see, it is just that they want to keep it discreet. Immigration is a very private affair, actually. I mean, you may dine and wine with your friends and families, but you don't discuss that every day. Secretly, you like to watch the priority date every month. But how the dates have moved or whether they have moved at all or not also. But yes, there is a high degree of sensitivity. People want to maintain it because of the discreetness, and the topic is, I don't want to use the word taboo in that sense, but definitely it concerns a lot actually, and people do not want to be seen, displaying their vulnerabilities actually.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the and we respect that and we honor that actually, and we will help people within the framework of that respectability also.
Yeah, and it's the exact same reason why on our testimonial page, you will come across series of videos of interviews of those EB1A achievers that have openly wanted to share their story and their success by means of working with us, as well as some of those that still kept their identity discreet, which are labeled by initials. So that's why we approach the testimonial page that way. So on to the next question and the last question. Can internal company awards be used as EB1A evidence, or do awards need to be open to the public?
It all depends on which criteria you are considering it. If it is for an award criteria, absolutely not. It will not work. But you can use that internal award to strengthen your critical role, actually, I would say. It's pretty straightforward here. So internal awards cannot be used for the award criteria. It has to be award at a larger forum. Even a shorter award open for the general public will not be good enough. It has to be open for public at large, across the world. That is much more beneficial, actually. It could be specific to your field of expertise. That's another requirement. But it cannot be kind of a local centric under any circumstances.
Beautiful.
So friends, that's all we have for the day today. And please write to us. Please send us your questions in the link below, or reach out to, if you want to join the next week program, please reach out to David or I. We'll be more than happy to help you and wish you all the best. So David, anything from your side?
I appreciate you guys attending, and anybody that watches this in the future, click the links below that are relevant to your particular situation or where it is you are at in your EB1A journey. And we look forward to seeing you on the inside.
Wonderful. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any further questions or need personalized guidance, please reach out to us. We are here to help you every step of the way in your journey towards achieving your American dream. Let's connect and make it happen together.